As Shalom, my name is Assael Romanelli, and I'm a multi-potentialite. I work in different fields. I'm a couple and family therapist. I have a clinic in Jerusalem. I'm the artistic director of the Assael Playback Theater Company. Playback theater, you guys know? So it's improv based on people's stories. So we're a professional playback theater company, and I also have an institute called Potential State for enriching relationships, connecting people to themselves and to each other using therapy, art, and education. And when Marcel asked me if I'd like to speak about game, I was very excited because I feel like game has been part of my story, of my journey, of my challenge, and I think part of my calling. And in this presentation, I will share with you my journey, and then I'll tell you what I do today. And then the last part, I want to give you some tools, some tips to improve the play and the game in your life. And thank you for the clapping, where I don't know why you're clapping, but thank you. So I started off in experiential education. I was working in youth movements, and then I flew to London. I was a shaliach for the Masorti movement in London. Thank you again, that's good. And I was in the world of education, and I was not having fun. I felt like this is weird, and I'm not knowledgeable or passionate about Jewish education or Israel education, and I was doing really interesting things, but I was not having fun. And I was wondering, I was starting to burn out, and I had no life, no social life, because I was single, living in London, and just working all day in the Jewish community. And then I realized, well, maybe I'm in the wrong field. Maybe I should be going into performing arts. So I started getting into improvisation, theater improvisation, dance, and music, and I started performing in London, and I thought, this is really cool. This is it. This is my calling. Only to realize that something there was missing, something there was not clicking for me. Here I am on stage doing improv, like whose line is it anyway, these kind of improv games, but something wasn't happening, something wasn't clicking for me. And I didn't know what it was, and I got really, really frustrated. And then I said, okay, well, maybe I need to be a therapist. So I study social work. I become a clinical social worker, and I specialize in play therapy. Play therapy, classic. Come from education. I've done performance arts, perfect. And I end up working one floor down from here in Henson. They have the Yechida Legil Harach, the Early Age Development Center. And my job was to play with children, ages 3 to 5 on the carpet. And I wanted to shoot myself. It was the worst. I was literally counting the seconds till the session was over, playing imaginary games with children, and I did not get it. Why am I not enjoying this? What's wrong with me? I've done 3 professions. Something's got to click. And I was getting very frustrated. And all this time, I kept working in all 3 of the fields. So I was working as a social worker, I was teaching and performing in playback theater, and I was running workshops and sessions. And I was actually managing a gap year program for British kids in Israel. So this whole time I was switching between the hats, flipping between the hats, flipping between the hats, doing therapy, performing, teaching, therapy, performing, teaching, and something wasn't clicking. And then about, I think it was 10 years ago, I suddenly realized that all 3 of these professions, they meet. There's a meeting point for all 3 of them. And they meet in a place called the Potential State. And I want to describe for a second what that is, and then I will connect this to this talk. So Potential State is a concept by Donald Winnicott, and he's a British psychoanalyst. And he talks about, we are all born in a fantastic world. We're in fantasy land. We think we created everything. We just burp, and there's a hand feeding us and wiping our tush. And everything is beautiful and unicorns and everything is good. And then the good enough mother, which is my wife, the good enough mother frustrates the kid, doesn't exactly give him everything he or she needs. So he slowly leaves this imaginary, beautiful unicorn world into reality. And so from this beautiful unicorn world into a very harsh, cold world out there. But in the middle, there's a place called Potential State. This is my daughter, Laila. And she thinks she's a ballet fairy princess. And she has a lot of babies that she takes care of in her house. So she has one leg in unicorn land and one leg in reality land. She knows she's not a fairy tale ballet dancer princess with 20 babies. She knows that, but she kind of thinks she is. And that is potential state. Potential state is a space between reality and fantasy. And for children, that is where they experience imagination, creativity, play, joy. Now, our jobs as parents, as educators, as therapists, whoever you want, is to just hold that, not to rupture that potential space. Let them grow up with this space. Participate in this potential state, because as we get older, that is where we experience love, belief, wonder. It's in our potential space. That is when we grow. If we're too much in reality, it's hard for us to play. If we're too much in fantasy land, it's hard for us to manifest that out. So what I realized is that all three of these professions are working on potential state. And I realized after many years of not being good enough in any one of the fields because I was too extroverted and bold and blunt to be a therapist. I was not knowledgeable enough to be an educator. I wasn't hungry enough or talented enough to be an actor, a full-time actor. And then I realized the gift is the combination. The gift is creating potential spaces. And that was what sent me off to actually think about, that's what I'm going to do. So a decade ago, I joined the present tense. Okay, I thought there'd be more people there. Present tense social entrepreneur, and I launched the Potential State Institute for the helping professions. And I had this vision that we would bring in actors would study Freud and therapists would study Stanislavski acting, and we'd mix it all up together and be amazing. And I launched the kitchen, and we'd meet once a month, this cohort of therapists, artists, and educators, and we'd like workshop. And I was running it for 2 years, and I was just burning out. This was not happening for me. And I'm with the most creative people I've ever met, and we're jamming, and we're like throwing ideas, and I'm supposed to be excited, but I'm just tired. And then I realized that something was wrong. And I closed that. That became my greatest failure. And I closed that institute, and I moved on. And a decade later, I launched a website, because I couldn't define what I'm doing, so I called it Assael. And then I said, I went to Ma'of. And he said, you need a name. And I was like, Potential State. But then what is potential state? And then I realized, and now I want to bring it in to, I want to clarify these concepts. Because everyone's talking about game. I want to tell you how I see game and play. And this won't be interactive because I don't have enough time. So what is the difference between spontaneity and improvisation? I don't have time, so I will just... I have some time? What is the difference between spontaneity and improvisation? Creative people? What is the difference? מה ההבדל בין ספונטניות לאימפרוביזציה? What is the difference between spontaneity and improvisation? Something's planned and something unplanned. Okay, let's get one more. Improv has more preparation work. Okay, I'll share with you my version. Spontaneity is using my impulse. Boop. I'm spontaneous. I do a burp, that's spontaneous. Okay. Improvisation is already working with something else, with an object. I'm improvising with someone. I'm improvising with this talk. I'm improvising with this chair. And this is a discipline. This is an art form. This needs to be learned and studied. Everybody thinks they're great improvisers because our life is improvised, right? But actually, it's an art form which you can learn. And I will share in a second how that connects. And then what is the difference? In Hebrew, we call it mischak, but what's the difference between play and game? And this is a crucial definition that kind of really changed things for me. What's the difference?
Game has rules.
Nice. And play?
Doesn't.
Okay. So game has rules. There's a point to it. There's guidelines, there's boundaries, chess, Monopoly. But if we zoom out, our jobs are games. My job as a designer is to get something out. I need to have a deadline. And if we zoom out, our life is one big game. And the idea is I can play in a game or I can perform it in a rigid way. How many of us have played with our children in the most boring, not playful thing ever? Like me, 10 years ago, downstairs, that was me. I was in the game, but I was not in play. Play is a state of being. It's a state of consciousness. It's an openness. It's a curiosity. It's a wonder. It's an awe. And the whole idea is what I realized is we need to bring play into the game. So I think the theme should be play and not game because everyone's playing the game, but not everyone's playing it with play. And that's when I started realizing that's what it needs to be, play. And the more I allowed myself to let go of the three hats and wear the same hat and just go from one field to the other, being myself, I started to find the bliss. I started finding the mojo, and I realized that that's what needs to happen. And then about 6 years ago, I realized I'm looking around, I'm working in a public sector. I'm a family therapist, and I work in the public sector with social workers and psychologists and psychiatrists. Beautiful people, talented, creative. The second they stepped into the clinic, they were just life would get sucked out of them. They would become like these robots, and they would just hate coming to work every day. And I was like, this is really weird, because suddenly something was open for me. Finally, it was like I was having fun. I was actually having fun. I was looking forward to seeing another client. And I'm talking about being with people in trauma. It's not fun. It's not a fun experience. But I suddenly realized there is play in the game. And then I realized what we need to do is just to teach people how to play. So I said, yeah, let's just teach therapists how to play. How do we do this? Because I'll take the training from theater improvisation, and I'll just teach therapists. And then that became my doctoral dissertation. And what I did, I spent 6 years in breaking down play, or the elements of play, one by one, like a little gym, and then teaching it one by one. And since then, I've worked with therapists, with educators, with community workers. And that is my vision. My vision for the 21st century is to help you guys, creative people, the helping professions, to bring more play into your game. But the way you do that is by disciplined spontaneity, by mastering the art of improvisation. And I want to take this a step further, and nothing worth knowing can be taught. This comes from Carl Whitaker, a family therapist, who talks about you have to experience it. I cannot teach you how to play. You need to learn how to play. And this final part of my talk will be, I will give you some of these tips. Obviously, you need to go and practice them, but I want to at least tickle your fancy and see if you guys can tickle your fancy. Does that make sense even? I don't know. So these are improv rules, and maybe I'll give some examples of how they look when you actually bring them into reality, not just as a concept. So the first one is play, which means enter with a sense of curiosity, awe, and wonder. I work, being a couple therapist is very intense. It's a very serious work. People are on the edge. Right? Their marriage is on the edge, and you're right there. And I know that I wouldn't be able to do this work 3 days a week if I didn't have a sense of play, of curiosity, of wonder, of what's going to happen today. Not to take myself or life or this game, which is called therapy, too seriously. The next thing is saying yes and. This is the cardinal rule, and I want to say something about that. In improv, we see everything as an offer. An offer in improv is anything the other actor does. A word they say, they go like this. Everything they do is an offer. And if we cut and paste that into our lives, we are constantly being bombarded by offers from our kids, from our partners, from our colleagues, from the projects. The question is, what do we do with those offers? So most of us excel at saying no. And Keith Johnston says, people who say no in life, they gain security, but they lose adventure. People that say yes in life gain adventure and lose security. So the first rule to make you guys better improvisers is start saying yes. And it's not just saying yes, it's yes and. I'm accepting and I'm building on top of that. So if my son tells me he's Superman, okay, it's an offer. So first of all, I'll say, of course you're Superman, and where's your kryptonite? Okay? Or if a client says to me, I have a heavy metal unemployed musician in therapy, and he hasn't actually performed in a long time, but he sees himself as a musician. That is his core identity. So when he comes and he tells me, I'm a musician, of course I'm going to yes and him. Because the opposite of yes anding is blocking. Block in improv means there's 3 ways I can block this client. I can negate his sense of reality. I'm a musician. No, you're not. You're actually an unemployed person that has no education, and you're just lost. That's blocking, okay? Is that too harsh? Okay, that's blocking. The other way I can block this guy, I can postpone the action. Blocking in improv would be like, let's rob a bank, and then the beginner improviser will say, wait, where's my gun? Because he's scared of robbing the bank, so he'll postpone the action. And we do that all the time with our loved ones and work. Wait, let's think about this again. Wait, let's not talk. I can't talk. Let's talk about this later. I'm postponing. That's a form of blocking. And the last form of blocking is not listening. It's not even letting that offer in. I'm blocking him out, that phrase. That's a sense of blocking. So the yes and not block is a cardinal rule that creates synergistic, co-creative, juicy experiences. That's what creates play inside the games that you're already doing. All of you are in one big game. Not only your job, but your whole life. Okay? The next concept I want to... All right. Say the thing. So say the thing is verbalize or express what is happening right now. We call this immediacy skills. If I can verbalize what's happening right now, if I can call it that this clicker didn't work and I was embarrassed and you all saw that, I'll say it. And what research has showed is if I'm saying the thing more and more often, it actually improves my charisma. Charisma can be taught. Yeah. And the way you teach it, you can actually teach people to be more charismatic by saying the thing, by verbalizing what's happening right now. Is this person mansplaining me in this meeting? Say it. If you say the thing, and this leads to a rupture, because usually when I say the thing, whether it's positive or negative, it's going to be awkward turtle. It's going to be like, whoa, you just went there. That's a rupture. But actually, research has shown that the strongest relationships in life and in work are full of ruptures and repairs. Your best friends are not the friends you never fought with, are the ones you fought with a lot and you made up. So say the thing leads to ruptures, which leads to repairs, which deepens relationships. So by avoiding saying the thing, we're actually weakening our relationships. We're weakening the meeting. Think of a brainstorming session where no one's letting me speak. But I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say the thing because it'll be awkward or it's weird or I'm new on this team. But then basically I checked out. So I'm in this game without play. I'm sitting in a meeting lifeless. Okay, and we've all been in those situations dozens of times. Okay, I know I'm going fast. We'll have a Q&A after this if anyone wants. Yeah? Okay, we're good. How long? 5 more. You have time. 5 more minutes. Okay, take your time. 5. Follow the fear. Follow the fear means go where it's scary. Where is it scary? So in improv, if this is about robbing a bank, let's go rob the bank. If this is a love scene, let's propose. But if this is a meeting and I'm realizing that we need to talk about the dynamics of the team, I need to follow the fear. I need to go where it's relevant and not to beat around the bush. Following the fear raises the stakes, brings everyone into presence, and that's what increases play. Okay, follow the fear. I'll give an example. Many years ago, I was working with a teenager. He was a very depressed client, and I would literally fall asleep in the sessions with him. I know it only happened to me, right? So after a while, I got very scared, and then I realized we need to talk about this. We need to say the thing. Now, at the time, I wasn't teaching this to therapists. So nobody taught me this in the therapy context. I knew this from the performing arts. So I decided I'm going to say the thing, and I'm going to follow the fear because we never spoke about the fact that I'm falling asleep in front of him. It would be like this. I'd be, yeah, go on. And then I said to him, you know, it's interesting. I feel like I'm falling asleep with you. Does this sound familiar? And then he goes, yes. He goes, I know how to make people fall asleep. Now, it might sound funny, but he was serious. He knows this about himself. And finally, we verbalized it, and it opened up the whole dialogue. And from then on, every time I'd feel tired, I knew that he's doing his little Spider-Man fall asleep action because we were touching something that was painful. But I would have never gotten to that if I wouldn't have been saying the thing and follow the fear. If I would have pretended to be awake, if I would have taken coffee or stand up or do all these things to avoid what was happening. Okay? And this is like revolutionary, I mean, especially in the world of therapy, but in all our worlds, to follow the fear, to say the thing. And if you do all these things, you will make your partner look good. Making your partner look good means making him or her feel, whether it's our son, our partner, our colleague, our client, like their ideas are cool. That there's validity to them. I'm going to if I yes and you, and we say things together and we're in the here and now, and there are ruptures and repairs, this is amazing. There's a sense of freedom. That person feels like a rock star, and whatever they say is going to be great. I want to give an example from the educational world. So I was a shaliach in England, and I was in charge of the Israel education, obviously. And I decided I'm going to take a team, and whatever they say, I'm going to yes and. Whatever idea they have within the budget, I'm going to yes and it. And for 2 months, whatever they said, I was like, yeah, yes, let's do it. Let's do it, and let's add this. And it was amazing to see these kids just explode. And every camp we were the Israel mobile. And every camp, we just exploded, and we just crazy things. And that wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't be doing all these. And this is a really interesting one. Just on this, we should have a talk. Enjoy failing, because there are no mistakes. Okay? In improv, there are no mistakes. It's just more information. So in theater, thanks, Grandma, thanks for coming. And I do like this with my beard, because I thought I was playing a male character. So there are no mistakes. So I'm just going to take this into, since the 80s, I'm just really, this has just been a surprise for me. Okay, so there's always more information. There's always more. And the second I realized that there are no mistakes in my game, as a state of mind, then I can approach mistakes in a whole new way. And I want to give another example of a mistake I do. I mean, I have lots of them. So I'll take this one from the therapy world. I cut a client 15 minutes short. 15 minutes early, I'll say, okay, our time is up. She goes, no, you're not. We have another 15 minutes. You just blocked me. So she calls me on it. Okay? So we have 3 ways to deal with a mistake on stage. I can regress and say, oh, I'm sorry, let's keep going. Yeah, please keep going. And the session would be dead. It would be basically game with no play. Okay? The second option would be I would start to lie and justify why I did that. Yeah, because we hit a peak, so we should stop here. Which would be a lie, and again, the play would be sucked out of the game. What I ended up doing is going into that mistake, leaning into the mistake, saying the thing, owning it, and then going even deeper. This is interesting. Why did this happen? Does this have any connection to what's happening between us or in other relationships? And that opened up a whole topic of how much is she being seen, how much do people listen to her all the way to the end, and why do people keep cutting her off? Okay? And if I would have thought that I made a mistake and I should apologize or lie and pretend like this was planned, I would have lost all of that. So all these rules together create a state of play. They infuse your game with the play. And this is a cool list, and you can take a picture of this, but you need to be practicing this. And what I've dedicated the last few years is to try to take each one of these, cut it down, and just focus on that and have people feel it in the muscle. Because what needs to be taught cannot be taught. What needs to be learned cannot be taught. So I want to leave you with this idea as you're thinking about your own games. Lega. What is happening here? Boom. Okay? So if we're holding on, how can each one of you bring more play into your game? How can you bring a more potential state? How can you bring yourself into a potential state? So even in this talk, as this is happening, I found myself taking pictures with the photographer's camera. How can we infuse this? Okay, something that for me this is a game, right? This talk is a game. How can I infuse a state of playfulness? And I find myself taking pictures. I don't even know what camera that is, okay? How do we do that? How do we bring ourselves and our clients and our loved ones into potential state using these guidelines and bringing more play? Because at the end of the day, my vision is for the 21st century, for people, creative people, helping professions, is we are burning out because we are over-specialized, and our clients, we're entering a world that is much more globalized and round. And the way around that is to increase play into our game, to create a generation of people that are playful, bold, saying the thing, following the fear, not afraid of making mistakes, and modeling that. And I feel like that is a good idea that I think you should try.
Thank you. Okay, we have time for Q&A, but before you guys ask your first question, think about it. I want to not forget to mention that it was Assael's 40th birthday yesterday, and I told myself, thanks to Daphne for giving me that tip, and maybe we can, embarrass you a little bit more later. But yeah, so now on to the Q&A.
I'd love to read a quote too, Marcel, if you would leave me.
A quote? Do it.
At the end, after, yeah. Hi.
It should be just talk to it. Hello? All the way.
Hello.
Okay.
Hi.
What's your name?
Amanda. Good
Hi.
morning. I think this is a great list. As a mom of 3, I have, and also as a single mom of 3, so I've
Good for
gone
you.
through life saying yes and doing all of these things. But we've all read so many, especially moms and dads actually, read so many things that you're saying yes too much. Mm-hmm. Take care of yourself and learn to say no. Mm-hmm. So my question to you is, taking this wonderful list, where is the boundary?
Beautiful. Thank you for that question, Amanda. So this is a huge topic, but the idea is even every potential state has boundaries. Okay? So if my kid says, I want to take all your money and go to the supermarket, I'm not going to yes and that, but I can find a way to yes and it within the realm of the potential state. So what would you do with all that money? What would you do with all that money? What would you buy? What would we get? We'd get 100 chocolates. And the truth is, he just wants to play. Okay? Maybe when he's a teenager, he actually hates me, but that's a different story. But for now, he just wants to play. And what I feel we're doing is, I agree with you, we need to find a boundary, but I feel like most of the times, just even notice the question, the but, the classic block we do is but. I love your shoes, but I would never buy them. Okay? I just block the first part of my sentence. We do that all the time. The but is killing us. Okay? So how do we find a way to create potential spaces where I can play? Okay? And that is the art of the parent or of anyone who's working. Also in the project, right? I can't do anything. We have a budget. But within that, where do we create pockets of potential spaces? So I think a lot of time this is our fear, because we're not used to playing in a sense of, and we're crazy that if I just let go, all hell will break loose. But actually, it's an art form which we can perfect and hone and categorize and put it in special places. And sometimes you'll have time for play, and sometimes it's time for reality. A la kvish, or crossing a sidewalk, we don't do yes and. Okay? But how can we create these pockets?
Are some people more playful than others? I would think yes. And the question is, because I want to let you answer it, does it matter? How can we detect ahead of time before the playfulness sets in where a person's playfulness is at, because there may be ramifications, and what can we do to perhaps increase the level of playfulness, since you've already specified that's a good thing? How can we help other people become more so, and ourselves become more so, aside from just saying, please be more playful?
Beautiful. It's also like teaching improv is kind of a paradox. How can you teach someone to be, yeah? So I want to say, I believe that we're all playful, but some of us have smaller potential states. Some of us have been hurt. Some of us have grown up in tough environments that we had to grow up fast. Children of abuse, children of poverty have a very small potential state because they didn't have time to be a fairy princess ballet dancer with 20 babies. They didn't have that. So what I believe is, and it's interesting, you know, the therapists are the most repressed, unimaginative people usually, because just the socialization has killed any creativity. So what I've discovered is actually people that are not playful, those are the people that actually sign up for the course. I taught this in Hebrew. Those were the people who are coming, not the extroverts, I do theater on my free time people. It was the timid, quiet introverts that would come to this class because they felt something was missing. They felt this need to liberate themselves. And what we found out is more than the therapy, they finally discovered themselves. So I think what I want to say is that everyone has a sense of playfulness. They need invitation and they need permission. They need invitation, come play with me, and permission. I'm going to hold this space. That's my job as a facilitator. Whatever I do, how do I create a potential? I'm going to hold this space, and all of you can now be silly. All of you can be playful. I'm going to be in charge of the content. I'm going to hold the boundary. Now come and play with me. So I feel like the more playful people are people that have been said, they've gotten more yeses, and they say more yeses. But we can help people switch the no to the yes, and that creates more playful, spontaneous, improvisational people.
Hi, I'm the mother-in-law.
Wait, what's your name?
My name's Laura. I'm the mother-in-law.
She's my mother-in-law.
So I have.
Wait, okay.
Mother-in-law.
Here we go. Keep it playful. Keep it playful, Laura. Keep it playful. Yeah.
I have two comments when I was thinking about your talk today, and maybe you've already answered them, but I'll put them out there.
Please do.
One is Lila. When she plays,
right,
it's actually a lot of work. She has to put those 20 babies out. She has to put out their blankets, and they all have to be straight. She has to get everybody into her game. She has to explain it. She has to negotiate. She has to work very, very hard. And then, of course, it's time to clean it all up and go to bed. So that's very frustrating for her. So I just want to say the play is not as simple as we might think. Play can be a very, it can be hard work, yes, and we have to negotiate and do all kinds of things. The other thing I was thinking of, I was walking down the street.
Okay, finish that because I want to, actually, let me jump in right there.
Jump in.
People think that play is just fun, but play, Laila, she gets angry, she gets scared, it's a whole range of emotion, but that is life. Play is, I experience the whole palette of feelings. So play, it's hard work, but it's full of different emotions. Play is not just, hey, fun, unicorns. No, it's everything. But that's also part of play. Do I get permission to really feel angry, scared, wishful, revengeful, sexual, erotic? Could I get all those things in? That is play. Thank you, yes.
Oh, that's great, okay. That is.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, anyways, my next question is, wow, very inspiring, Assael. Thanks. We're just opening up a little family therapy session, you guys. I'll see you on your third birthday. Yeah, last one, Laura.
I was walking down the street, and I saw a sign that said, tap into your inner child. And I thought to myself, oh, shit. I wish people would just tap into their inner adults for a change. Can you just comment on the kind of differentiation between being immature, childish, and play, the kind of play you're talking about?
By being an asshole, I'm not a playful. Okay, being childish, being just interested in myself, not seeing anybody else, that's not play. I can be and not every child has a potential state. Childish doesn't equal play. Okay, I can be playful from an adult point of view. Okay? I don't regress people to being little children. But what I find is the second we create a strong potential state, people suddenly, they look better, they feel better, they have a lot more energy, their eyes light up. That's what we're looking for. So childish, if I'm not doing these, I'm not really in play. I can be immature, I can get angry, I can be resentful, I can not talk to someone. That is not play, that's just being immature. Okay? Potential state has nothing to do with age. We all have it, or we should have it, and we need to increase that in ourselves and in others. What's your name? Oh,
Hi.
you spoke.
Yeah, hi, my name's Elchanan.
Elchanan, yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious, how do you know you're playing the right game, and how do you know when it's time for a new game?
Listen, I thought I was in the wrong games for about a decade of my life. I kept switching professions, kept thinking this was not for me. I think what I realized is the second now I'm happy in all the 3 professions I have. I found play. I think the question would be, if you cannot find play in your game, and perhaps it is time to find a game you can find play in. So if there's certain things that I just can't get into, if there's just no way for me to be playful in that specific game, then perhaps it is time to move on. And I just want to take that to couples, right? Not every couple needs to stay together. How do we know that? We don't really know that until we explore it. Until we explore, can we really play together? Okay, or the project. But I feel like a lot of times people won't even try to infuse, they'll do the game, they'll get worn out pretty quickly. They won't even try to bring in the play. Try to bring in the play. If that consistently doesn't work, it's time to rethink about the game. Can I finish with a quote, or we run out of time? So I want to finish, if that's okay. I don't know if you guys do this or not, but I love books. Free Play, Improvisation in Life and Art by Stephen Nachmanovich, he's an improvised musician who writes in psychoanalytic journals. So he's kind of an academic musician, kind of a multi-potentialite. This is the opening of his book, and you might recognize the name from here. There's an old Sanskrit word, laila, which means play. Richer than our word, it means divine play, the play of creation, destruction, recreation, the folding and unfolding of the cosmos. Laila, free and deep, is both the delight and enjoyment of the moment and the play of God. It also means love. Laila may be the simplest thing there is, spontaneous, childish, disarming. But as we grow and experience the complexities of life, it may also be the most difficult and hard-won achievement imaginable. And its coming to fruition is a kind of homecoming to our true selves. I wish all of us a homecoming to our true selves. And happy birthday, Creative Mornings, and Shabbat Shalom.